Shein, Cider, Emiol, Moana Shop with 2 N's, Kollyy with 2 Y's. There are so many shops out there right now that I can't stop seeing on my Instagram feed. I keep on running into them and they all look very similar, and it kind of prompted me to look into them, because for a second there I thought they must be run by the same person, because the marketing is so eerily similar that there's literally there's no way that it's all different types of people. I know that there's always like stealing going on and people taking each other's ideas and other things like that, like that's not new, but at the same time it's just so surprising that even the way that they market their products in terms of graphic design is literally the same. We're not going to be talking about Shein today. What we're going to be talking about is just how strange these companies are and how similar they are. They're literally just carbon copies of each other, and we're going to talk about who's behind that. Is it the same person? Is it different people who just steal each other's ideas? So first of all, I want to say that as far as I understand, I think that all of these companies are dropshipping companies. They picked up on the market, they picked up that people stopped liking fast fashion. People have a hard time buying from fast fashion. And first of all, I want to say it right away, right from the bat, this video, I'm not going to be bashing anybody who's buying from those stores. I'm not going to be bashing anybody who uses Amazon or any other company. I know that it's a difficult position that we're in. Yes, there are vintage stores, yes, there are secondhand stores, but right now, because of the popularization of those stores, it became even more expensive sometimes. At least where I am, it's either the same price or a lot more expensive to buy things secondhand. I try to do it nonetheless, but it's extremely difficult for me because I am not a type of person who has someone paying for them. I had to pay for my education, for everything, and obviously I'm in debt because of it. And I understand that this is not something that is the fault of the person who is participating in buying some clothes. I know that we should all try and limit our individual footprints on the planet, but this is a little bit more complicated than just being like, don't buy from these stores. Like, of course, if you can, don't buy it from those stores. But I'm not gonna be here telling you how much of a bad person someone is for buying it. Like, no, I'm gonna be talking, I'd much rather trash someone like Jeff Bezos than someone who's just trying to look presentable to get a job, because nowadays it's even difficult to get a job at jobs that used to be easily attainable. It is incredibly difficult to keep up the facade of being on the same level of privilege as everyone else who has other people paying for them when they're establishing their careers, and I understand that, and I'm not going to be bashing anybody for it, okay? So this is, if you were looking for somebody to just bash a bunch of people for buying from this store or something like that, it's not going to be this video, because I believe that this is a more complicated issue. However, today we're going to be talking about just people who are behind this, who's doing it, how easy or difficult it is to find information about these companies and what they're doing, how they're approaching their production and other things like that, Let's talk about Cider first, because Cider actually, to compare to the other companies that we're going to be talking about, with Cider, at least I was able to find who the CEO is, who's the creator of it is. It's a guy, his name is Michael Wang. So Cider, basically, they produce their clothes in China. As far as I understand, there's a lot of stuff going on their website in terms of how they try to explain how they produce their garments, and there's a lot of different types of information about it. And what I want to kind of talk about is the fact that on their website there's a lot of emphasis going on the fact that they are trying to limit the amount of waste, they're trying to limit the amount of fabric that's being wasted, blah blah blah. And at first I was like, oh, that sounds good. That's a good thing. But it kind of becomes a little bit more complicated when you look into it, because the definition of dropshipment companies, which is something that I have right here, dropshipping is an order fulfillment method that does not require a business to keep products in stock. Instead, the store sells the product and passes on the sales order to a third-party supplier who then ships the order to the customer. So the thing is, with Cider, let me spray myself, it's really hot again. What I kind of noticed about it is that they try to portray this system where you order things and then you pre-order just to make sure that you don't waste and stuff like that. They try to portray it as like this eco-friendly way of selling things, which I'm not going to debate whether it is or not, but it is interesting that it's just the definition of a dropshipping company instead of it being like this revolutionary thing that they're doing alone. It's kind of a thing that every dropshipping company is doing, and it's not particularly good anyway, because yes, you're getting a specific amount of garments sold. Yes, you don't keep them at any facility that belongs to you, but you do keep it in other factories. So it's a little, do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like one of those ways of explaining something that sounds a lot better than it actually is, and sounds like it has a lot more impact than it actually does. Second of all, what I want to talk about is the fact that at least with Cider, that at least I could find who the CEO is, what he's done before. Found his LinkedIn and stuff like that, so at least he's not some kind of enigmatic figure that you can't find, which is a lot worse than at least having a name and some kind of person who's in charge of it. So the thing is, he's also posted this on his LinkedIn, which is this article which I found before even I found his LinkedIn, and it's this article just talking about business, whatever. And there's also another article that's been written by Andresen Horowitz. That person's kind of talking about like investments and trying to kind of get people to invest into Cider as like this new Shein, you know. And even the way that they wrote about it, so the way that Shavi Lieber, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but I hope that it's that I pronounced it right. So what she's saying is, my latest for the business of fashion is about venture capital's hunt for the fashion's next giant, following the meteoric rise of ultra fast fashion brand Shein. So there's a lot of talk about AKA Brands, which is parent company of Princess Polly, wanting to acquire Cider or whatever it is. Basically, Cider is in the same category. They do try really hard to distance themselves from Shein, but they are only trying to do it on their website for their customers. When it comes to writing things or talking about themselves and trying to get people to invest, or when it comes to talking to other business partners or trying to make a name for themselves, they talk about themselves as the next Shein. So keep that in mind, basically. The next thing that I kind of stumbled upon when I was just looking into Cider, it was this, just Reddit came up and I looked at the thread that people just were talking about it. So someone said that they actually emailed them and they asked direct questions that they didn't answer on their website. So they asked, can you shed some light on your supply chain? I really want to support you, but this worries me as I care about the people who make my clothes and how much they are paid and the conditions they work in. Do you know what standards your factories are being held to? And also, do you know where these clothes are made? So the response was, thanks for your message. We totally understand where you're coming from. Our pieces are produced by our partner factories in China. We tour every factory we work with and ensure that they meet very strict standards on wages and working conditions. We are able to cut down costs because of our AI forecasting. By the way, we're going to talk about AI forecasting. And on-demand manufacturing allow us to minimize unsold inventory as much as possible. So the person says, this felt a little bit fluffy to me, so today I sent the following, which is, I agree, it does sound very fluffy, because where are the specifics? I asked what kind of factories you're working with. You're just telling me, we go and we check the factories. Which ones? Tell me the names. Why is that such a top secret information? I don't think it should be, right? They said, thanks for the reply. This is wonderful news. Do you know if there are certain standards that your factories have to adhere to? So for example, BSCI and or SA 8000 audits. And then they said that they're gonna update everyone. And then someone asked, like, were there any updates or anything like that? So then the person again replies and they're like, thanks for asking. Nope. They sent the following response about 3 weeks ago. Since then, I have followed up again. Still nothing back. To me, BSCI is bare minimum. If the customer care team doesn't even know if they have it, not a good sign. What do you think? Yeah, it does sound like it, you know. So then they say that there was another response, which was, thanks for your message. I'm writing to inform you that we will first inquire other department for your issue and get back to you later. Please do not hesitate to ping us if you have any questions. So after chasing a few more times, they finally replied. So they had to be asked 300 times to actually get a response. So they said, yes, we are proud to say that we did gain the BSCI certification. What differentiates us from other fast fashion brands is our effort to achieve sustainability indicated by our zero inventory mission and pre-order system. So dropshipping, it's not revolutionary. I feel like before I looked it up, I didn't know what dropshipping was exactly. That's why when I read about this stuff on Cider, I was like, oh, they're trying to eliminate the waste and whatever. But in reality, it's just what dropshipping is. And it's not even about eliminating waste as much as it's eliminating wasting their money. Of course, they would want to have the exact amount of orders just so they can tell the factory to send out this amount of orders instead of buying more and then having a few more shirts lying in the factory. I'm not saying that it's better or worse, but it's just the way that they are portraying it. It's like they're trying to get a lot more praise for something. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it. But in any case, then they're saying, to be honest, we are not 100% zero waste, though that's a future we'd like to work towards currently, but we definitely have sustainability in mind as we make our products. We lean heavily on pre-order systems to minimize waste and to reach the zero inventory future. We do care about the environment and are doing everything possible to make this planet a better place. Okay, well, so they're not even zero inventory, they're zero inventory mission. Well, this is basically where we are at in terms of this information. Obviously, it's a fast fashion store. The prices kind of speak for themselves. It is always interesting the way that they speak about themselves in their about sections on their website and how they portray themselves, how they try to appeal to the masses. And it's a little bit misleading, I think, the way that they talk about it. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you the amount of just products. I basically just put a few of the ads that came up on my feed into my saved posts. It's just a few, it's not a lot, but it's just one of those things. Even the way that they advertise everything is so similar. It's like they have the same person making their graphics or something. I understand that there's a lot of things, like things that are fashionable, things that are current in design world, and I know that some of it is basically just stolen from each other, you know, that makes sense too. But it's really interesting to me, just the sheer amount of those companies, because I'm gonna tell you what, right now, before I started filming, I was just scrolling on my Instagram and I just kept on getting more and more because I saved some of this. Now I'm getting more and more and more of those advertisements, and I'm just shocked by how many of them are out there and how many of them are exactly just identical. It's insanity. It genuinely is. So let's see Kollyy, right? So Kollyy is definitely going for the whole cider thing. It's basically trying to just take the design, take the clothes that they are selling in terms of just the aesthetic and whatever, and try to fool people into thinking that it's that store that they were hearing about, which honestly, it doesn't really matter. They're all kind of the same. But with Kollyy, it's a little bit more fishy than usual, right? So first of all, of course, none of them have any addresses or anything like that. Of course they don't. What do you mean? Of course they don't. Of course they're not gonna tell you where they are. Their answer is always, we're an international company, which means they have factories in different places wherever it's cheaper to produce stuff and have like a bigger profit margin or something like that. In any case, so Kollyy, first of all, no CEO in sight. I guess they just don't have one. Like, it's so difficult to find just the person who created it. Why? I mean, I understand like maybe you don't have it on your website, but then shouldn't you have it somewhere in the world? Just when you Google a company, shouldn't the company CEO be somewhere? There's no company address and there's no name of whoever is in charge of it, you know? So it's already fishy on their website. They're definitely going for this aesthetic that will really go well with Gen Z demographic and stuff like that. So when you go to their about section, it's so strange. It is extremely strange. So basically it goes, why Kollyy, not Kollyy? Kollyy with 2 Y's. Why you, why us? I mean, weird, but okay. Then it goes, you girls are who Kollyy is today. Your spirit with freedom and independence, belief of imagination and futurism, and sense of love for bright colors are all our brand personalities. The writing is terrible, so you know that something is fishy already. And I'm gonna tell you, all of those websites in their about section, there says things like your rules, your style, we're here for all colors. You know, this kind of crap. Us. Cauli is a fast-growing and trendy clothing brand founded in 2021, inspired by the classic retro style. Cauli aims to release new clothing lines in different series, which will combine the characteristics from the never-forget pop culture's musics, as well as movies. This is it. That's all you get from them. Nothing about production, nothing about who created it, nothing about where they're located. So let's look at return and exchange, because the funky thing about it is that you have to pay to return stuff too, which is a bad sign. The next one, Juicici. I think that's how you would pronounce that. Another one of those websites. It was one of the other post that I showed you, that it's literally like the same aesthetic again, the same type of approach, the same type of clothes. They're all trendy, yes. The description: Juicici is a brand for young girls, a group. First of all, okay, a group of energetic, passionate, and positive. Passionate and positive of what? Love is colorblind. Equality is woven into our culture without judgment to experiment. You have total freedom to live your life. See, like they're using even the same language, the same words and stuff like that. I feel like it's just one person for the entirety of this operation, all of these companies. This is like a conspiracy theory at this point. I understand that it's probably a bunch of people who are just copying each other, but it's just something about it is just so robotic. It is in part due to the fact that they are using AI forecasting for future trends, which is a smart decision for companies that want to exist for a long time and want to have the oldest staff they could have, because it's quite easy to predict what's gonna be next, what's gonna be trending. It's really easy, especially when you're young and you're following those trends. If you're into fashion, if you're into pop culture, if you're into any of those things, it's really easy to guess. There's been a lot of research done that like personal predictions are not working as well as AI predictions, and it's like, well, no shit, because your executives who are predicting these things and predicting the marketing strategies, creating the marketing strategies, they're like so ancient. You know, there's a lot of people who are in marketing and stuff like that. I don't know why they went into marketing, because there's just a certain type of people who age rapidly, and I don't mean age in terms of physical appearance, but just they give off this old person vibe because they completely shut off the outside world and they don't know what's going on. They don't pay attention to anything, and that's why they become extremely out of touch. And it's kind of interesting because obviously there's gonna be differences. Like, for example, if you're older, maybe you're not gonna like TikTok, and that's okay, you know, like you don't have to fucking like TikTok, it doesn't matter. But there's a lot of this interesting kind of relationship going on where a lot of those executives, you know, like they have to rely on AI to predict trends because they don't have that good like gut feeling of what's next or what kind of market would be available to them, which is really interesting, while at the same time a little bit uncomfortable, because I mean, honestly, just this stuff that's like on Cider right now and stuff like that, it was all already popular a year and a half ago. Popular in terms of just like it was starting to pick up with all of those influencers and people who were ahead of the curve, not influencers that are very popular and are kind of low-key lame, you know, but they get a lot of views and a lot of likes and whatever, but with those that are like ahead of the curve, and that's the people that you should just follow. As long as you follow them, you're gonna be ahead of the curve, like a year and a half ahead of it. And with AI, like, I mean, honestly, like I'm glad that they solved that problem for themselves, because they are always behind and it's exhausting to deal with. But at the same time, I feel like it kind of makes even more excuses for not having younger people enter the workforce, because they're like, well, we don't really need your input because we have all this AI technology that's gonna tell us what's gonna happen next and stuff like that, so we don't even have to do that anymore. I don't know, let me know what you think about it. Do you think that it's somehow gonna be related or anything like that? They just kept on popping up. The next one I found was Emiol, very similar. Couldn't find much about this company either. Go to About Us, glam, fab, nothing about production again, nothing about anything else. It is what it is, I guess. And then another one was Moana Made with just 2 N's. Again, they like love to put 2 N's, 2 Y's here, do whatever to make it kind of more unique, I guess, of a name. When you look at it, when you search it up, Moana Made clothing CEO. So then someone came up, but it was not Moana with 2 N's, it was Moana with 1 N. And when you open it up, this Moana Clothing Ltd on LinkedIn and stuff like that, it's just like some company that does uniforms, schoolwear, sportwear, that kind of stuff. So it has nothing to do with that shop that I found on Instagram. So then everything else is like flooded with Moana stuff. You can't find anything under it anymore. So it's all just Disney. And then when you go to their shop and you go to their website from that shop, open it up again, the styling, the graphics, design, even though I feel like the website, they might even use the same template or something. I really like, it looks similar to the point where it's ridiculous. And then I went to FAQ. So the only thing that had anything to do with anything that I'm looking into was, can I make returns? And it's a little strange, like they accept the returns, but they say like, oh, you can apply for a return within 14 days after the receipt. But what if it doesn't get to you in 2 weeks, right? We accept items in its new condition with its original tags, packaging, the item items should be free of any makeup, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty normal. And then to complete your return, we require a receipt or proof of your purchase. So they do mean proof of purchase when they say receipt. So it's since you actually purchased it. And then it's also the shipping time and the delivery time. So who knows if you're even gonna get it in 2 weeks? Probably not, to be honest, considering this type of website usually takes like a fucking month. To complete your return, we require a receipt or proof of purchase for any returns in store, credit, refunds. Please contact us via direct messages to our Facebook or Instagram, or fill up the contact us form within 24 hours after receiving your item. Like, they're putting a lot of roadblocks, like a lot of roadblocks to try and stop you from returning anything and getting and then there's also like, you know, receiving a refund is another thing than just returning it, right? Any requests on return after 24 hours will be rejected. Please don't send your purchase back to the manufacturer. Customers will only be charged once at most for shipping costs, blah, blah. Like, don't send it to the manufacturer, to the person who sent it to you, right? So again, it's just a drop shipment company. Like 100%. About us. Hey, it's Moana here. I'm the founder of Moana Made. So you want to tell me that it's Moana, like the girl, whatever. I'm assuming it's a girl. I'm gonna need more, girl. This is clearly not Moana. I'm a firm believer that fashion doesn't need more clothing. What it does need is a sustainable production business model to never-ending fabric waste dumping cycle. So at Moana, our goal is to make affordable women's clothing on a zero inventory future business model. Again, they always say that they're working towards zero inventory when they're already a drop shipment company. Then she explains with like graphics and other things like that what drop shipment is basically, but she's calling it textile waste reduction or whatever. So that's about it. That's all that you get from here. The next one is Almighty. Okay, so with Almighty, it's really confusing because it says that it's making clothes in one place. The prices are quite a bit higher for what you're getting. And then when I looked up who's the CEO, what keeps coming up is this girl who was the owner of another company, Erin Yogasundram. What I found on their website, so it's not actually that girl because I looked it up, and that girl used to be in charge of the company of Shop Jean. In like 2015, it was a big deal where everyone was buying stuff that was like internet slang on like pillows and other things like that. She was really doing all that kind of stuff, right? And then see who is the owner of Almighty right under it, right? You open it up and it tells you, oh, like it's Erin, whatever. Why it's there, I read the article, it has nothing to do with Almighty. I have no idea why the information is cross-contaminated like that it keeps on popping up. And like, while their prices do not reflect it, Almighty is considered fast fashion. A majority of the criticism on Almighty is about the quality of the clothes, shipping and sizing, also in relation to how expensive it is. So at least with Cider, it's really cheap, you know, at least you are actually able to build a wardrobe to look more or less presentable for jobs and other things like that. With Almighty, you pay a fast fashion company that produces shitty clothing for really expensive. I think it was like $45 or $49, something like that, for this really bad shirt. Let me show you because God, it's so hot in here. Every time I film, I end up soaking wet at the end of the video because I keep on misting myself. This is actually water, by the way. It's just I'm using the Urban Decay spray. First of all, right away, you get new everything, tops, bottoms, dresses, sets, and unisex. You do not get an about page. You do not get anything else. And at first I was like, okay, well, it may be just at the bottom, right? Because sometimes it's just at the bottom and you have to scroll and see it. Scroll down. What you get is subscribe, you get follow us, you get beep us, which is basically just a couple of email addresses, and then you get terms and shipping. So this is the only place where you can get information about them on their website. Is terms and shipping page. So then you open it up and you go, okay, so there's, first of all, you start with privacy. Over at Almighty, we like to keep things extremely private. It's just me and you, baby. This is very dull skill, don't you feel like it is? So they have their own team of seamstresses. That's what they're saying, right? That's kind of like how they try to explain it, but it's a Singapore GST registered business. So it's registered in Singapore, at least we know that. And then default prices are in USD. So this is all the information that you get. That's it. The most annoying part about this store is that it is fast fashion, but it's also the prices are ridiculous. So this is USD. You get this shirt. First of all, this shirt should not be more than $2 at like a gas station. But besides that, it's $48. This shirt is $48. Even if it's ethically made, you should probably invest into design a bit more to ask for $48, even if it were actually made ethically. But whatever. In any case, this is just a bunch of copycats of each other, I guess. Everything that they say is like, it sounds good, but then when you actually start to ask very specific questions, they say things like, oh, it's up to code. Oh, okay. Which code? Silence. You ask, where is it made? Oh, it's made in our partner factories. Which ones? Nothing said. Basically, it's really strange, and I just wanted to make a video just talking about them because all these companies are so funky. Aren't they weird? They are a little weird, and I'm not here to like tell you that it's morally incorrect to buy from them as much as I'm here to say that it's morally incorrect to run them, to be honest. And at the same time, it's like I think I'm a little bit worried, to be honest, about everything because I don't have a solution. Of course, the issue is capitalism, but you know, the weather and the changes in like the permanent changes to our climates, it's jarring and it's scary. It's genuinely makes my mood so bad. Multiple times a day I just have to kind of tell myself to forget about it because I can't carry on with my daily rituals. And I just wanted to say, if you can spare a minute, please sign a petition that I have in the description to help people in Yakutia right now. It's this area in Siberia. It's basically the entirety of Siberia. There's just another portion a little bit to the left. Taiga is burning. Most of it is on fire right now. It's really disturbing because this is a place that's supposed to be cold, okay? Even in the summer, like we get heat waves and stuff like that, but they were always very different in terms of like the amount and the scope of what was happening. And the biggest issue is that our land usually is frozen really deep within, right? And right now it's starting to melt, which will cause a lot of disasters. The ground is not going to be as stable. It's not going to be able to support all the infrastructure that was built upon it. And basically our government is not doing anything. And there's this petition going around. Please sign it if you have a minute. It's really important to me. All these animals who are suffering, all these people who are suffering, they live in villages where they don't have any way of communicating because it was all cut off by this extreme fire. No one's talking about it because I don't know why. And I really want to bring this here. Please sign this petition. It's in the description. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with more of a fun video soon. This was just a speculation. I'll be back soon. I'm kind of on a roll making more and more videos. I'll see you in a few days. Bye.